Make it 5 straight. LSU falls to USC 27-20. Regrettably, we're talking about it. It's Locked on LSU. Let's go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We're free, available wherever you get podcasts, and of course, available on YouTube as well. Today's show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy fixes tired fast. Could use one right now. With zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. Go to 5hourenergy.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. LSU loses to USC 27-20, so what's next for the Tigers? We'll get to that. Brian Kelly got heated as I've ever seen him in his third season at LSU, slamming the table in a post-game rant. You'll hear or see that if you're watching on YouTube, and I'll react to it as well. But figured we'd start by giving you some thoughts on this game. And to be perfectly honest, I don't have a great place to start. There's some things I want to touch on, we'll get to. To lose 5 consecutive openers, they all come in context. And I know there's this question of if LSU should continue to play these openers, and that doesn't really even matter because next year you're playing at Clemson to open the season. And in 2026, Clemson's playing in Baton Rouge to open the season. So regardless of what you or I think should happen or what they should do with these openers, that ain't going to stop. Maybe LSU could work to get a week 0 game in. The truth is, when LSU was winning these openers every year, when they went to Seattle and beat Washington, when they played a Thursday night season opener game in 2007 against Mississippi State in Starkville and won, when they beat North Carolina and Atlanta in 2010 or Oregon and Dallas in 2011, I mean, name it. When LSU was winning these games, we never talked about it. But when you lose 5 consecutive openers, the conversation has to be had. Like, do you need a tune-up game? And the way that I would look at it is, we'll get into the game itself, but because there's no uniformity in scheduling in college football, why would you choose to put yourself behind the 8 ball? And you are voluntarily putting yourself at a disadvantage. It's got to stop. As for the game itself, look, vibes were immaculate, man. I had a video go viral. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you should. At Matt Moscona. It's right there on the screen if you're watching. We spent the morning at Mandalay Bay before the game, and it just became an absolute – it was overrun by LSU fans. Mandalay Bay was running out of booze, which is almost – I've gone to plenty of these trips over the years, y'all, and I've seen it all, man. My goodness. I went to the Rose Bowl in 2021, and they ran out of beer in my section before the game started. In 2019, LSU was in Atlanta twice in the month of December, and they overran the Marriott, LSU fans did, for the SEC championship game. And then, I mean, you're there 3 weeks later for the Peach Bowl, and the same thing happened. They didn't learn their lesson. Vegas should have been ready, but they weren't. LSU fans showed up in a big way. Crowd was probably 60-40 LSU. It was a day trip for SC fans, so they were able to make it. But LSU fans were there. They were loud. They were prepared. It was two jokers who snuck in trumpets and were playing LSU songs, played neck. I happened to catch them on video playing neck. And you got thousands of LSU fans in the Mandalay Bay Sportsbook chanting STTDB. I mean, the vibes were immaculate. LSU fans showed up in a big way. And unfortunately, the team wasn't ready to win. The Mandalay Bay actually ran out of beer and had to go into their emergency warehouse supply. I mean, you don't think that's going to happen in Las Vegas, but that's what happens when LSU fans show up. So the fans did their part. Unfortunately, the team had their opportunities but couldn't finish. I want to start with the start of the game. Y'all, there is a mathematical probability that goes into everything. And Brian Kelly, who I'm a big supporter of and have been since he was hired, his insistence on receiving the ball when you win the toss is indefensible. This is math, okay? You defer. The reason you defer is because it gives you the opportunity to have back-to-back possessions at the end of the first half and the start of the second half. Also, if you have the first possession of the second half, it means you're getting an extra possession than your opponent in the second half, which is exactly what happened. USC had an opportunity at a 29-yard field goal to end the first half, which their kicker just booted. Kickers. But they had an opportunity to go back-to-back. And then ultimately, unfortunately, they had the ball in a tie game with 2 minutes to play, under 2 minutes to play, and a chance to go win it, which is exactly what they did. Instead of you, because you decided after winning the toss to put yourself at a disadvantage. Now, maybe you could say, well, they had confidence in their offense. Fine. And that manifests because they ended up going for it twice on fourth down. Once from the 3-yard line, USC called the perfect blitz, pressured Nussmeier, threw it away. You come up with no points. Brian Kelly has nobody to blame but Brian Kelly. Oh, you're going to hear Brian Kelly say in a minute. You had 3 possessions inside the 15-yard line. You came away with 6 points. That's true. That is true. And it should have been more. And yes, part of that is execution from your players. Some of that's play call. But a big part of that also is the decision-making of the head coach. Because while it was 6 points on 3 possessions, it could have been 9. And you could look at the final score and say it doesn't matter, but the entire complexity of the game changes when scores change. You have the opportunity to take the lead. The point of the game is to, ultimately, it's not who ran for more yards, who was better on third down. It is who scored more points. Who scored more points? And you had the opportunity to score points, and you decided not to. This is not hindsight 2020. Go back and watch my comments from the Florida State game a year ago when I said the exact same thing, because the exact same thing happened a year ago. Opening drive was encouraging. 13 plays, 74 yards. You shoot up 7-14. It's exactly what LSU wanted to do. Put USC's offense on ice, keep them on the sideline, which came away with nothing. Defense got stops. And you went into halftime tied at 10. And you made some really nice plays defensively. You can go run through the entire defensive stat line. Harold Perkins let you in tackles. Savion Jones had 2 sacks. He was a monster. It was really good. And you had opportunities throughout this game, and you just couldn't capitalize. If there's one other big thing that I have an issue with, it was the fact that, and again, I understand what the game plan was. If you've been here on the show, we've talked about it. The game plan was protect your defense by running the football, shortening the game. And LSU tried to do that, and by and large, they did. You could look at the box score, and you can see LSU ran it for 4.5 yards a carry. Tigers, as a team, ran it 26 times for 117 yards. You averaged 4.5 yards a carry. That's good. That is a very solid offensive output. But when you had to run it, when you had to have it, you couldn't. And that's the really disappointing part. Because when you look at this game, LSU took a lead in the third quarter and then into the fourth quarter, to go up 20-13. And ultimately, when you took that lead, and LSU took the lead 17-13. Forgive me. When LSU took the lead 17-13 late in the fourth quarter with 3:42 to play, that was your opportunity to make sure they never got close again, to put them away in the fourth quarter with your running game. And instead, in the fourth quarter, you had 2 possessions with the lead after going up 17-13, and you had a 5-play drive for 23 yards and punted, and then you went 3 and out for -7 yards. And the really disappointing part is that 5-play drive for 23 yards, when you had the opportunity with forgive me, the field, and then the next drive, you had a 3rd and 1, and you run John Emery, and you can't get it. You lose yardage. That's devastating. Like, that's the opportunity where you could put that game away, and you can't do it. When you talked so much about leaning on your running game, which you should have leaned on your running game, but ultimately you were unable to finish late in that ball game with the lead in the fourth quarter, with possession, see the run clock, score, make it a 2-score game, put it away. You couldn't do it. And it cost you. So it's massively disappointing that it played out the way it did, because it's a game you could have won and should have won. The other thing I'll tell you is this. I know we talked about our objective thinking, okay, LSU is going to run the football, shorten the game, protect its defense. And by and large, they tried to do that. But when LSU came out on the first possession of the ball game, Kyron Lacy caught 4 passes. First play of the game, Lacy, 15 yards. Second play of the game, Lacy, 15 yards. You ended up going forward on 4th and 2. Who did Garrett Nussmeier look for? Kyron Lacy, 3 yards, converts the first down. He caught another pass on that drive as well for 8 yards, his 4th reception of the opening drive. And they targeted Kyron Lacy in the end zone on 2nd and goal from the 9. And he caught the ball, but his foot was out. He was literally a foot away from 2 first-half receiving touchdowns. Kyron Lacy caught 4 passes on your opening drive. For the rest of the game, Lacy had 3 receptions and none in the second half. Why in the world? And I understand what your game plan was. Run the ball, shorten the game, all that stuff. But when you have something that's working as well as it was with a player like Kyron Lacy, who they could not guard, to not force him the football, to not find ways to get him involved, to me, is inexcusable. Another key reason why you lost this football game. LSU loses 27-20. Now, Brian Kelly got heated in the postgame, and I do want to talk about that. We'll get to it as we continue here. Locked on LSU, your team every day. Recording this podcast here at 1:30 in the morning Central Time. I could certainly use a 5-hour energy. 5-hour energy's done me right for a lot of years before my radio show, whether you're doing a radio show, watching sports before your workout, trying to tackle a to-do list, or just after lunch at work. I have a feeling, well, Monday, of course, is Labor Day, so everybody's off. But if you're going to be struggling a little bit on Tuesday when you get back to work, 5-hour energy could certainly help. 0 sugar, convenient, portable size, the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. And the 5-hour energy website, by the way, is flavors galore. There's watermelon, tropical burst, grape, which is my favorite, the extra strength, berry, flavors for everyone. So you can find your favorite and try them all. And on the site, you can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. So you choose the flavors and it's delivered right to your door. So here's what you do. Go to 5hourenergy.com. It's the website, 5hourenergy.com. It's the number 5, 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5-hour energy product today. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB, LOCKEDONCFB, to receive 20% off your order. The offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. So go to 5hourenergy.com today. That's 5hourenergy.com. Brian Kelly got heated in his post-game press conference. We'll get to that here in just a quick segment. College football is back. Locked on College Football kicks off the action with a live season preview on at 7 o'clock. Well, we already did that. I don't know why this is old copy. So either way, go check out Locked on College Football. My buddy Spencer does a great job, so check out his podcast, Locked on College Football. It's linked in the description here. Okay. I've given you some overview thoughts of the game. Brian Kelly in his postgame did something I haven't seen him do since he's been at LSU, which is really get heated and animated, usually very tempered and controlled. But he was angry after this loss, his word. And can't say that'll blame him.
Hell yes. Hell yes. I mean, and that's what I said to the team. I said, we had some guys played their butts off tonight, and we're sitting here again. We're sitting here again talking about the same things. About not finishing when you have an opponent in a position to put them away. But what we're doing on the sideline is feeling like the game's over. And I'm so angry about it that I got to do something about it. I'm not doing a good enough job as a coach. And I got to coach him better because it's unacceptable for us not to have found a way to win this football game. It's ridiculous. And it's crazy.
Michael Barnett tried to save Brian Kelly there at the end. You know, I understand the frustration that Brian Kelly has. And he's lost 3 consecutive openers, and this is a veteran team that should have been above it. And, one of the things we didn't mention in the open were 2 penalties from 2 veteran players that cost this team. Selfish penalties. Kyron Lacey scored a touchdown to tie the game at 7, got an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, and then look what happened. On the ensuing kickoff, because you were kicking off from your 20, it allowed them a return, and Zachariah Branch returned it 46 yards into LSU territory to the 43. Thank God Aaron Burrell made the tackle. Great open field tackle by Aaron Burrell. But SC ended up kicking a field goal, cost 3 points. Later in the ball game, you come up with a defensive stop, and Major Burns has an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for ripping his helmet off. It cost you 15 yards. Instead of starting your drive at the 36, you're starting at the 21-yard line. You stall out, you punt, you go 3 and out, they get the ball back, and they go on their game-winning, what ultimately was their go-ahead touchdown drive to go up 20-17. LSU would tie it and lose. But, I mean, that's 2 veteran players that cost you points because of foolish plays. And I think that's the kind of thing that had Brian Kelly so upset after the game. Now, the other thing that Brian Kelly kind of ranted about a bit in his postgame, when he was asked about the offense kind of helping the defense, like, does the offense need to help the defense? And there's a couple of things that I can empathize with, and there's some things, quite honestly, I just didn't like. Here's what he said.
I wouldn't call USC's offense, pedestrian. They've got some good athletes. I thought the quarterback played well tonight. He outplayed our quarterback. He made the plays when he needed to. I thought our defense took a step forward from last year. But we have to, when I say complimentary football, I mean, we have to help them as well. Like, we can't be 3 and out and then put them back on the field. We have to be able to help our defense in certain situations. It just felt like we never helped each other tonight. And that's what I was referring to in terms of, playing. I felt like as a team, this is a better team that we have. We're missing some of the, explosive weapons, but that doesn't mean you can't be a better football team. For us to be the kind of football team I want, we have to eliminate the foolish mistakes. We have to be able to have a mindset that when we have an opponent down, we have to be able to go for the have that killer instinct. And then finally, we have to be able to play off of each other much better. And that will help our defense the most.
I think I had my mic muted. I apologize. I think ultimately the really disappointing part of the whole sequence there to end the game is, and I understand what Brian Kelly was saying, is that I think both quarterbacks played well. I think Garrett Nussmeier played well. I think Miller Moss played well. I think ultimately, at the end of the ball game, when you had to go put the game away, LSU didn't do it, and USC did. When you had an opportunity with the lead in 2 possessions to go salt the game away or score to make it a 2-possession game, you didn't do it. Ultimately, when they had the opportunity, their quarterback did. I don't think it means Garrett Nussmeier is a bad player. I think he was quite good, actually. Just when you look at the statistics from this ball game, Nussmeier threw for 304, Miller Moss 378, Nuss 2 touchdowns and a pick. The pick was inconsequential. The touchdown for Miller Moss. Nuss QBR was better than Moss's. There was a lot to like from both guys. But ultimately, in the fourth quarter, when you needed to go put the game away, LSU couldn't do it. USC got the lead and ultimately won the game. So what's next for LSU? We'll knock that around a bit to wrap up when we come back here. Locked in LSU, your team every day. Not exactly the good vibes we wanted here to start the season. But you want to take a moment, of course, you can check out a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love. It's Ultimate College Football HC. It's an amazing game and simulation. You get to step in the shoes of the head coach, lead your college football program to glory. I mean, imagine being the head coach of LSU. Might not be a bad thing today. From recruiting players, hiring the coaching staff, overseeing training camps, handling school scholarships, it's all there. You control every detail of your program. It's all in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure? And what I really love about the game is you're responsible for calling the offensive plays as well during the game. So your strategy determines the success of your season. Ultimate College Football HC, it's completely free. No ads, 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want, when you want. And of course, we got a special offer for our Locked On LSU fans. So use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to take advantage of this perk. It'll get your team off to a strong start. Download the game, visit ultimate-cfb.com. That's ultimate-cfb.com, or look it up on the App Store. Ultimate College Football HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. Again, that's Ultimate College Football HC, ultimate-cfb.com. Okay, y'all. We'll wrap up here just with a thought on what's next for LSU. Of course, it's a quick turnaround. So we're recording this in the early morning hours of Monday. LSU is flying home after the game, so they'll be back in Baton Rouge early morning Monday. They'll get a good night's sleep, take the day off. Be back at the practice field on Tuesday getting ready for Nicholls. Boy, you'd love to just invert these games, right? Nicholls first, then Southern Cal second. But Tigers will play Nicholls this Saturday in Tiger Stadium in the SEC opener, and then they go to South Carolina for week 3. I know there's going to be a lot of questions about what's there for LSU, and the thing that I'll remind you is, of course, with a 12-team playoff, like a loss like this isn't devastating. While it stings, it leaves you searching and wondering about the team and the future and all that stuff. From a playoff perspective, it's not devastating. You lost to a good team. You went to a neutral site venue out west, and you lost a really close game to a really good team. Very evenly matched game. Somebody had to lose, and you drew the short straw. What happens here, though, is it leaves you very little margin for error. Like if I was to play out scenarios for LSU, if you lose one game in conference, hypothetically, okay, well, you go 10-2, but you're 7-1 in the league, and 7-1 is probably going to get you in the SEC championship game. So, depending on how that 7-1 looks, but it probably gets you in. So it's fair to look and say, okay, well, while that's disappointing you lost this game, there's still a lot to play for. And then on top of that, if you were to lose a couple of games in conference, you'd finish 9-3. And I don't know that 6-2 in the league gets you to Atlanta. But if it did, it's happened before. Look, LSU went to Atlanta and Brian Kelly's first year when they were 6-2 in the conference. Of course, they beat Alabama, so they won the tiebreaker, but they had a couple of conference losses that year. So if 6-2 gets you to the SEC championship game, conceivably you could win the SEC championship. And remember, the way the college football playoff is structured now, the top 4 conference champions are the top 4 seeds. Listen, I'm not trying to tell you LSU is going to win the SEC. I don't think they are. I'm just laying out scenarios for you. So there's a lot of things you could still cheer for. It's one of the great benefits of the college football playoff expanding is that it's no longer you lose one game, your season's over. You have 11 more games and the opportunity to improve, to get better, to win games, and to see if maybe, just maybe, you can find yourself in November playing for something of significance. Hard to look at right now. Massively disappointing considering you had a lead in the fourth quarter and let it get away. But there's still a lot for this team to play for, and I suspect they'll continue to get better as the season goes along. So for LSU, though, all too familiar feeling. 5 consecutive years, LSU's lost the season opener. They got to find a way to fix it. And if it's not play better and win that game, then it's build in a rent to win in week 0, or however it may be, to give yourself a better opportunity to win one of these marquee games. Because what you can't have happen is voluntarily putting yourself at a disadvantage. If we have a uniform scheduling model in college football, okay. But if Ole Miss can play Furman and Alabama can play Western Kentucky and all these schools can play a bunch of Arkansas can go score 70 on Pine Bluff, then why are you choosing to put yourself at a competitive disadvantage? It's got to stop because it hurts your opportunity to advance. And I love the marquee games. I want to see more of them, but not if you're the only one doing it. Because Texas A&M and LSU and Florida, 3 SEC teams that lost this weekend playing marquee non-conference games, rather play rent-a-wins and take your win because the objective is go win championships. So what's the path to getting there is what I'm always interested in. And it ain't losing 5 consecutive openers. Okay, y'all. That'll do it for us here on this Labor Day edition of Locked on LSU. We appreciate you for being here with us. If you're new, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you're notified whenever we go live, and let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you here every single day. For Locked on LSU, your team every day.